Welcome to the Winedown, an afternoon podcast where two techie blokes sit down over a bowl of wine and chat about what's happening in the world of tech. Enjoy while Scott and Nick open up about their week in technology.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to the Winedown. I have no video, good old technical problems, but I'm here with
Scott.
Hello, Scott. How are you?
I'm good. I'm seeing you're looking very well. Not moving around a lot, but that's all right.
It's kind of good. I think I've lost some weight as well. It's absolutely awesome.
Perhaps you need some IT assistance.
Yeah, no, don't get me started.
I know a good provider. Okay.
Yeah, I know what I did, and now I've got to work out a way to undo it. So we'll have some fun. Some things are Teams is working happily, but StreamYard is not. So we will attempt to work out what that is. Anyway, how are you going? Another wind down in lockdown?
Yes. Getting quite familiar with this. I'm not sure if it's. I'm enjoying it as much going forward, but it is certainly there. But I changed my background to represent something different this week.
Yeah, but that's just being nasty. That's the thing I remember from the olden days called a bar, isn't it?
That's it. This is the Regent in Singapore.
Nice.
This is called a bar. It is a place where people used to go to drink and socialise.
Yes. Okay. All right, like a Teams meeting, only more fun.
Yeah. The Teams meetings are certainly effective in that they bring you all together, but they do miss that sort of interpersonal. I don't know. It's just lacking something. I don't think it's something a camera and a mic's going to ever solve the problem for.
No, especially when my video isn't working. So let's start with our normal question. Where are we? What are we drinking?
Well, I think we know where we are. We've just done that, but I've actually got. I picked up. I may have talked about this before, actually. I don't know. It's a wine called the Joseph. There's a vineyard out in McLaren Vale. This particular one, they refer to it as Moda, but Moda really meaning method, where they've got this method of drying the grapes before they actually produce the wines, and they seem to think it produces better wine. I can't really say anything bad about that because they've never produced a bad wine that I've tried. So, yes, it's quite a nice drop.
Okay. So today I am drinking a Marquis de Sable 2019 Chinon, which is a Cabernet Franc, or Cabernet Franc, which is very nice. And on the back, it says, beautiful purplish and garnet colour. It offers an intense bouquet with aromas of red fruits. The structure is silky and round with supple and velvety tannins. There we are.
That could describe a tin of tomatoes.
It could, but luckily in my case it describes a wine. It's not too foul, actually.
Yes. I should mention, if you go to McLaren Vale, go to Joseph. They've actually got a lovely olive plantation there. You can actually get fresh olives off the trees, and well, not quite straight off the tree, but ones that they take off the trees and then soak and you eat them. But yeah, it's very nice.
So it just reminds me of a piece out of Monty Python and the Life of Brian. I can see the old guy in the loincloth jumping up and down trying to protect his was juniper bushes, wasn't it? It wasn't olives. It was. But anyway, I digress. What are we talking about today?
So we're looking at some of the work we've been doing with some of our clients actually about. We've spoken about automation before, about automating your business. This is getting a little bit more into the area of like the front end of the business, where we look at sales and sales proposals, because sales proposals it's a lot of work has been done on automating proposals or making them more efficient to produce, because it used to be you'd go and sit down and you'd find a new opportunity and someone would say, great, send me your proposal. So you'd go back and you'd put all the details in, you'd start writing some paragraphs around this and that, you'd put what your solution is, how it works, and then you'd backfill the proposal with all this content and you produce this document. Like, a few days later it looks really, really nice, and someone would get it and they'd look at it, here's your proposal, it's a 50-page document, great, where's the price? This is the only page I want to know about. Okay, but let's talk more. But it's a very time-consuming. That's right. But I think it's the part of it is it's a very time-consuming part of the sales process, getting the proposals out there, and it it's actually a part that over time I've noticed that less is more. The 100-page proposal that really has 2 pages of actual content and 98 pages of fluff and pictures and stuff that you've done in a previous life. It used to be nice to have passed the weight test to say, look, here's our solid proposal. But these days it's a bit of a, well, I don't really even want to know about that. Why did you send this to me? Just tell me what you're going to do and how much it's going to cost. And, is that a value? So
so I agree with that. When I joined Microsoft in early 2000, we went and as part of our induction, we went and did a course by Franklin Covey called Helping Clients Succeed, and that course was very much on less is more with a proposal. If you've got to write lots of things, then you've messed up the sales process, and you really should be doing a maybe 1 or 2 pager of what you've already agreed, and it's just writing it down. It's not anything else. So I've always been a believer in the smaller proposal, but that gets harder, right? When you've got to move it around a bunch of people and have a bunch of people reviewing and all sorts of things like that. So
and that, in some degree, though, that is part of the problem. If your proposals are that custom every time, that you've got to have multiple people reviewing and agreeing, that is a certain type of proposal. But for a lot of people, they've got predefined or canned solutions that they sell, that they know what it is, they know how it works, they know what the pricing is roughly going to be, and they can describe that once and use that definition many times.
Yeah, I would say if you take it to the nth degree and you're building, a repeatable software product, you never build a proposal, right? Somebody comes to your website, chooses it, presses the button, puts in their credit card, runs the software. There is no that whole bit of the sales cycle's gone ski in that type of world, right?
Yeah, it has, and that's essentially how the Hub One sign up works. It's done from the website, but you're also looking at your content in your website, and all your other documentation needs to be sufficient for the average person to understand. Yes, I can click here, I can install it, I can use the product. I've got some questions. Oh, look, type them in here. They show up. I've got most of my answers here. That whole function has to work and work well. Otherwise, you're in trouble.
Yes, absolutely.
But for the majority of IT providers, if you're selling, let's say, managed services, or if you're an accountant selling accountancy services, or consulting services, or a lawyer going, here's what we can do for you in this, and this area, a lot of that stuff can be like 80 to 90% predefined, because it's the same consulting service you're offering each time, but there is a bit of personalization to it, and there is a bit of client engagement as part of the sale. I guess the trick is, how do you minimize the I have to write a document part, which doesn't really add any value beyond just describing what you're going to be doing, but it's a necessary part of that sale.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. How do we make that happen, and how do we make that available automatically, so to speak? So here's a scenario. One of my favorite sales was a few years ago when I went into a customer. They're a fairly big customer, and it was a fairly big project, and I'd written a piece of software that generated proposals. So I asked him 20 questions. I got all the data into my software. I hit go, and out came a proposal. And he was so happy and impressed, he signed it right away, and off we went and we did the project. And that was not a small project. There was a couple $100K worth of project. So that was a fairly big project, but we knew what we were doing. We stuck to our knitting. It was really variations on a core. But the impressive thing was the automation. Nobody had to spend time writing a Word document. It got spat out of a tool. And that's kind of where the magic lies. Because really, customers don't want to be paying you to write proposals. They want to be paying you to deliver value into their business.
Well, that's just it. And look, I often say this, you bought the computer. Why don't you get it to do the work for you?
Yep.
It's not going to cost any more. And we've seen, look, if we go back to the early days of proposals, like 10 years ago, people are looking at, here's my Excel sheet with all my items on it, here's my costings, or here is my list of things that I do, or here's my catalogue of components that I use, and I'm trying to pull all those together and manually create something in a Word document. Or I think the IT industry was a bit was in itself ahead a little bit in some of the specialised things that we do. But a lot of people started with that, at least getting everything into spreadsheets and then cutting and pasting bits and pieces, or getting proposals over time and having, here's 8 or 9 different templates I've used for this. Which one can I use for this client? Well, there you go. There, it's 70% done. That sort of thing. If we use that as a starting point, we can sort of see where we've progressed from then.
Yes, we absolutely can. You're dead right, and that's kind of cool. Yet we've still got a bunch, and we've just been working with a couple of customers recently, as you know, to actually help them move from this old traditional system actually into automating proposals. And so I remember I was working with Jim on one this week where we actually took it, so it was a complex one. They didn't want to show customers the individual components in the proposal, because then you've got customers who'll go out and source it from somewhere else, and they reduce their services fee by putting margin on products, and it's one of those things. Yet they wanted to build an automated proposal and wanted to know what things they had to go and buy. So we actually built a tool where somebody went and signed one of their documents. It automatically spat out something telling them what raw materials they needed to solve this problem. So that started automating their process, and that's a bespoke company that builds, interior design stuff, right? That's a complex beastie.
Yeah, and we should be sort of a little bit clear here. But when we say automating proposals, we're not talking about just electronic signatures, about taking a proposal you've spent hours developing and PDFing it and then putting it into a DocuSign or Adobe sign or a Hello sign or a Woohoo sign, whatever it is, just to get the signature right. We're actually talking about the entire workflow from the client has identified they need some this, and this service. How can I go like tap, 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 click, 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 and within a few minutes be done with that whole proposal generation quoting process, and knowing that I've got an engine behind the scenes taking it all the way through.
Yeah, and that whole end-to-end thing is what really starts saving the time and means you don't have teams of people in rooms writing proposals that really will have the same likelihood if it's automatically generated or if it's manually generated. Because as you say, people don't really read them.
They don't, and I used to fall into this trap, and we've got some proposal automation or quoting tools that we use that are actually quite automated end to end. And for some of the more complex, I suppose, managed services proposals, there's certain things that I never really wanted to put into those quoting tools because they just don't do it justice. You can just see it doesn't make it look like the way I used to have it. It just doesn't. It's missing this, or it doesn't have that. And I can't do this. And do you know what? No one cares.
No.
You're not talking to someone and you're not successful with a client because you've got a better looking proposal.
Yes.
The world will be a very...
That's a really interesting point, because people get hung up on that. How do my invoices look? How do my proposals look? How do my quotes look? Nobody cares.
I tell you what, though, I remember buying something off Apple many years ago, and for Apple, for all of its design and it looks beautiful, it's great. You get that sort of design and best of look and feel award. The invoice that came out of their system looked atrocious. It's just this old texting with boxes around it. Okay, I suppose they don't waste any money on that. But it was functional.
It's functional, and like it's as long as the data's there, nobody really cares. And I think that's what's fascinating. And it tends to be, I've spent a bunch of time with customers who are so finicky about what the invoice looked like. And when we said with them, well, why is this so important? Oh, it's very important to get it right. It's part of the brand in front of the customer. And I'm going like, well, I'm one of your customers and I don't see that. Right? It'd be funny to actually go and ask customers, do you care what an invoice looks like? And with zero-to-zero integration, which a lot of small businesses have now, you never even see the invoice.
And in fact, in many businesses, the person that gets the invoice is not the actual person that spent the money.
Yes.
It goes into an accounts department or something, and they enter the amount into a system somewhere where someone else will get a thing saying, oh, can you approve this amount in an email or something? So you may not even have it visible. So there's a few tools around that do help with proposal automation. And I'll just quickly add a little list here, like PandaDoc's one of them. Better
Yep.
Proposals, Proposify, Proposable, Fresh Proposals, and this is just the key sort of ones that come up when you go looking for this sort of stuff. But
Yep.
and this isn't about, hey, you should use this because we found it was really cool. They all work pretty well. They all have their strengths and weaknesses. You've got to find the one that works for you. Um, One of the common things amongst them, though, is you can add predefined pages into a template. So let's say
Yep.
you've gone and found a marketing person, you've got a nice little glossy front cover for everything you do, great. Add that in as a page. Create a template that has some footers at the end of it and there's headers and nice little things, and just put the critical few paragraphs in that make this proposal whatever it is. Automate the rest of it, click email it to the client, and away you go. A lot of these tools also integrate with your CRM, so you can actually choose what one of your clients, they'll allow you to post the proposal back into the CRM, so you've saved it somewhere. They can actually track whether the client signed it or not. When they sign it, they can kick off some approval workflows from your end, kick off your operations process if that's automated. There's all sorts of things you can do with these. It's really cool.
And it's fascinating, right? It's so here's a question for you. We've really just finished automating our proposals.
Mm.
Has that affected your closure rate?
It's made it faster.
Wow, made it faster.
So
So customers are asking for something, getting a proposal in minutes, and signing it quicker.
yeah, there's the clients that they know what they're after and they just need something to sign or whatever. And in some cases, you would sit down. Oh, okay. Here's my process is to do this, to type this, to create this page, to write. I met you two, and we discussed this topic. So we talked about doing this, and this. We estimate it'll take. In some cases, that person just wants a quote of, give me a quote for 100 hours with a bunch of outcomes listed there, and away you go. I can produce that in like 2 minutes. Whereas previously, I'd be spending half an hour to an hour getting a nice little proposal together and then sending it off, waiting for them to print it out, manually sign it, and try to scan it back or whatever.
Well, the other thing is, by the time you've got it to them, they've kind of forgotten the conversation a bit. So now they need to read it properly to make sure it's what you both discussed. What a nightmare! If you can get it out like that, it's really quick. It's so much simpler.
Yeah, the strike while the iron is hot approach. Yes. I remember a client we used to do in previous business. We would have them meeting once a month sort of thing, and they would talk about what's happening in the business. They said, "Oh, we're going to open up this new branch." Oh, okay, so you'll need comms and a rack, and you'll need this. They said, "Oh, yes, we'll need all that." Okay, just have a coffee. You'll be back in 2 minutes. And they used to go tap, 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 and come back in with a bit of paper with all these items listed on it. And, oh, great! So they'd sign it because we'd just been talking about it. It was what they wanted, but we knew what they wanted, and bang, there is a signed quote. But I know that if I'd waited a day and had to write a proposal around it, whatever, it would have been different. It would have taken days to get that back.
Yes, exactly.
So it's quicker to get the proposals. It's quicker to get the proposals out there. It's quicker to get them back. And the other thing is, it's easier to maintain the whole life cycle. So you can actually have other people in your team looking up, oh, where are we? Oh, we've actually got this many quotes or proposals outstanding. Oh, look, this many is in flow. And a client ringing up, for example, and saying, oh, how are you going with this project? And not realizing that, the rep was actually sent, a sales rep would have been sent a signed document and hasn't passed it on to anyone yet. So you may look silly, whereas some of these proposal tools will actually allow you to go and inform everybody as soon as something's signed to go and kick off the right workflows to start a project up. So at least people are aware of what's going on.
So you don't need to write any software to do this, right? There's product upon product upon product in market that does this.
That's right. And look, there's the more generic ones, like these ones we mentioned just previously, that where you can actually define your product catalog in them. And if you've only got half a dozen things you sell at a broad level, that may be sufficient. But then there's more industry-specific things. So, like for us from the IT side, we have a few of them around, and they are like these proposal tools, but they're very specific to the IT industry, because what they do is they actually go and automatically go to all the suppliers and all the wholesalers and get all the stock levels, the current prices, and whatever, and make that into our sort of product catalog.
Yep.
Now, that's important because in the IT industry, there's literally a couple of million parts out there. that we could be choosing from to sell to a client for that specific need. And you think, oh, hang on, there's not that many. Well, there actually is. At a basic level, you've got like an HP laptop. There could easily be 20, 30, 40 variations of that.
Yes,
And then you
that one
find,
model. And then
it's one
there's
model.
hundreds of models, and yes.
Yeah, and then there's bundles that are done, and then you start getting into licensing where, oh, there's this product in this many users, then there's another key for this many users, another SKU for this many, and so forth.
Talking
And
of
then
licensing, I have to jump on top of you. A friend of mine has just released a book. It's called the Microsoft Licensing Body of Knowledge 2021. She has been congratulated all over LinkedIn. It's
wow, it must be a big
3,200 pages.
Yeah, you're in trouble when the first 100 pages are the reference of where to look for or the first book that comes with it is the book explaining where to find the information in the rest of the volumes. Yeah, no one can get that stuff right. It is so complex. It used to be you'd even ask people at Microsoft, 3 different people a licensing question, you get back 3 different answers, and they'd all be right and they'd all be wrong.
Yep.
And you say, well, what do I do?
Oh, exactly.
I know they've tried to simplify it, but it's complex. It really is, and that sort of sums it up. Yeah, but the whole idea of this is that even in our tools, we can just go and go click, 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 put some specifications in, choose some things, get them into a quote, put pricing in there, go send, and come back. If a client accepts that electronically, we can actually have them process the order and send off a purchase order to a supplier to go and deliver X many products to that client's address without us touching it.
And you can be doing that in minutes. So I think that's the important message out of this is automate your proposals, right? It's got such a business
the other thing
benefit.
is
It's good for clients. Go on.
And it feeds into our invoicing engines, so we know that the invoice gets sent out, and all of a sudden we've now sold something all the way down that order to cash chain, where the client's now been sent the goods, they've been invoiced, and all we have to do is just correlate payments coming in at the other end, and even that's getting automated these days.
It is. It is. That was super cool, Scott. We're kind of running up on time, but I think that was a cool overview. I enjoyed that discussion. Sorry about my video. I'll be back next week.
Oh, that's all right. One thing we should say, though, with all of this, it's not overly complex to do. There's a bit of work involved, as per anything, but these are not things where you have to go and hire a room full of people for a year to work out how to do it anymore. No. Tools are available. They're fairly simple. And even the licensing for these tools is cost effective, and all the answers are on the internet. You don't need to actually get a proposal out of the people to sell their own proposal software.
No.
It's all automated, and it's actually quite easy to use. So, yeah, have a look around. See how you can automate your sales process.
Absolutely, and I think that's a good idea, and we'll leave it at that. Hey, everyone, thank you for watching and listening today. Hope you enjoyed this episode of the Winedown. We do these every Wednesday, so feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. We like the likes and the subs. That's what we're here for, and we try to make them educational and interesting. So do that. Leave a comment if you'd like us to cover something, and we've got more special guests coming up, haven't we, Scott?
We do. We've actually invited a few extra people to come along. At virtually 1.5 meters apart. That's right.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So that was great, Scott. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Nick.
And I'll catch you in the next meeting after this, I guess.
You will indeed. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.